Good day to one and all. I'm Dr. Shashikala, Associate Professor. I would be talking on the topic of globalization. Introduction to globalization. We very well know that globalization is the buzzword of today. It has helped in the immense growth of trade, finance, and when we look closely to each other, there are several innovations of science and technology which has come up and made the entire world to come together. We have seen that another concept of global village, which signifies how much the change in the world that is in the recent decades, there are a lot of changes happening. So we see globalization integrates trade, technology, investment, and mobile factor of production like labor and capital. We see a wide range of big branded company which are in the global market. For example, the Louis Philippe, the Coca-Cola, the Nike. We see there is a credit for globalization. Well, we see globalization has been widely used in the past decades, and its popular usage can be seen in the 80s. To describe this as an increasing movement of people, knowledge, idea, goods, money across the globe has become a sensation. We also see the economically, politically, socially, and cultural ideas which are being exchanged. Although we see globalization in the economic term, the process has many other implications as well. At the global level, we see globalization in the term of challenges that is it poses to the government in international affairs and global economy. Let's come to the concept of globalization. We see that this term was coined by Theodore Levitt, a former professor at Harvard Business School. The concept of globalization, we see, has become so wide in politics, business, media over the decade. It has engulfed the world as never before. And we see this new phenomena which is becoming so intense and speed that it has changed and affected the entire world. In economy, politics, socio, culture, there mark on each and every aspect. And we see that life of this earth today has been so widely influenced because of globalization. It has also taken on very new definition. The economics globalization is essentially the emergence of the global market. Sociologists also see globalization as the celebration of diversity and convergence of social preferences in regard to the lifestyles and social value. The political scientists, they also see towards the state sovereignty. Thus, globalization, when we see, has become a widely discussed current political, socio, and human rights discourse. Let's go on to the definition of globalization. Yes, globalization today has engulfed the world. We already know there are various definitions given, and one of the globalization process of international integration arising from the interchange of worldview, product, idea, and other aspect of culture. Let's see what Anthony Gidding has to say about it. He says it is the consequences of modernity. He uses the following definition as globalization can be defined as intensification of worldwide social relation which links the distinct localities in such a way that local happenings are shaped by event occurring many miles away and vice versa. We see in general globalization an integral part of economy, finance, trade, communication, social relations. A worldwide perspective can be seen in the form of globalization. Let's go to the tracing the history of globalization. The origin can be traced all the way back to the period of colonization of 16th century. We see that the globalization originated in modern age towards the end of World War II. the result of development and connectivity. It was followed by exchange across the border in terms of trade, idea, culture. However, we see there was a counter argument was traced to the origin to the ancient civilization, the Indus Valley civilization, the Sumerian civilization. Therefore, the trade had taken place among the countries of Greece, Egypt, and Roman Empire. And it was in this regard to the need for trade that various trade route, Silk Route, and such other example started to originate. So we can very well trace back to the 1492, the explosion of to the year of globalization, where Christopher Columbus stumbled on America in search of the spices. 1498, we witnessed Vasco da Gama, who made a runabout around Africa and snatched the monopoly. He went to Arab in looking for the spice traders, and we see that genuinely a global era of the world history was in development. Then we go back to we talk about the 19th century industrial revolution, which was one of the major period in the history of globalization, which made a significant increase in the quantity and quality of the product. It led to higher export, better trade relation. It was colonialism and imperialism that contributed to the trade. With the World War I, the period referred to as pre-globalization came to an end. So, we can understand globalization in the modern sense, which came into existence after the Second World War. The leaders of the world decided to bring down the barriers and promote trade among various countries across the globe. Let's see some of the parameters of globalizations. The first one is trade and transaction, which is a free flow of goods by removing or reducing the trade barriers between the countries. The flow of capital, creating an environment for flow of capital between the countries. Thirdly, the movement of people, to create environment for free movement of labor between the countries of the world. And then distribution of knowledge, accessibility to information, allowing free flow in technological transfers. We have various dimensions of globalization. We talk about the phenomena, economy, first one. The economic globalization refers to an increasing independence of world economy as a result of growing scale of cross-border trade of commodities and service, flow of international capital, technology, all type of productive activity and marketization. Next we see on cultural globalization, which is the rapid movement of ideas, attitudes, values across the national border. The sharing of ideas, which led to the greater interconnectivity among the people with diverse culture and better way of living. It had both positive and negative results. Then politically, we see it is an increasing trend towards multilateralism, towards an emerging transnational state apparatus, and then towards the emergence of national and international non-government organization which act as an watchdog over the government and has increased their activity and influences. Next we see there are various impacts of globalization. Yes, the very well positive impact, employment, which is considered one of the crucial advantage and has led for numerous employment opportunity. Education, which is very critical, and it is numerous educational institutions around the globe have come into existence, thus integrating the different culture, meeting and learning from various people. Next we have the increased competition. It is not just limited to commodities. A commodity may fetch 100 of option with different prices. The product quality had to be retained by the customer, which created competition in the market. Next was the cheaper prices. Globalization brought in fierce competition. Since there were varied product to select from, the producers can sustain only when the product is completely priced. And here there is every possibility the customer may switch over to another product if the product is priced overly. We have the concept customer is the king. Next we see on the free movement of capital. The capital is the backbone of every economy, and it is one of the prime importance for the proper functioning of the economy. We see communication, where information technology has played a very important role. Every single information is easily accessible all over the world. It is by internet. Next we see transportation, which is a wheel of business organization which connects the world in a more serious problem. We see that various mode of transportations are available. Next we concentrate on international trade. It has broadened the horizon with the business process outsourcing. Next we see on the GDP increases. The gross domestic product is the money value of the final good and service produced with the domestic territory of the country during an accounting year. Thus, the financial outcome in terms of financial gain enhances the GDP of the country. So, GDP of the developing country has increased twice as much as before. Well, there are some negative effects of globalization, health issues. We see that challenge of epidemics, HIV, AIDS. Now we have seen the new coronavirus, which has attacked the entire globe. So yes, that is another concept of negative effect of globalization, loss of culture. We see that particular country follow their own culture and tradition from the time immemorial. But since people are moving in and out, there is rapid transformation of culture and even cultural conflict. Uneven wealth distribution between the rich and the poor. Though we see that to some extent globalization has been able to reduce the poverty, but still wealth are in the hands of few developed countries. Environment degradation. We see that industrial revolution has changed the entire outlook of the economy. But by mining, drilling, we have completely damaged the environment, leading to climatic change and other natural calamities. Disparities. Though we see that globalization has opened new avenue and wide market, still there are some disparities which are happening in the economy. We see there is a cutthroat competition. Opening the doors for international trade has given an intense competition. Though there are some improvements, but still modern marketing technology like advertising and branding, there are some local players who suffer a lot. Conflict, yes. Every economy wants to be on the top, but it has led to terrorism and some other form of violence. And lastly, we see the monopoly, a situation where only one seller has to say in a particular product, or he has to sell one particular product. It is because that when a product is the leader in the field, the company may begin to exploit the customer, as there exist no close competitors. The leaders take full advantage and sell the product, which may lead to illegal, unethical practices. And we very well know that monopoly is disastrous, as it leads to a gap between the developed and the developing countries. Thank you, one and all.